Okay, so as promised, I was going to show you some more about my metal bass stand system. Here we have, sitting here astride the road to somewhere, the Fast Play Grande Armée system, a simple Austrian division of the Grenzer's forces, Krennevel's division with Hake's brigade and Kleinau's brigade. Again, all of the miniatures are attached to the base via ferromagnetic fender washers on their bottom. All the miniatures have that on their bottoms. And then the base stand itself has a number of neodymium magnets that has been attached to it. And the magnets are not stuck on by anything more than their magnetic force, because this is a piece of sheet steel. At the back of the piece of sheet steel, I have attached, again, it's just a piece of sheet steel itself, what I call an angle iron, and that's for me to be able to attach these magnetic paper identification tags. I've discovered that it's also useful, you can see the little yellow diamonds that are on here, for very easily identifying who's in command of what. So what I've done is on the back side, we can get it in there, on the back side of the angle iron, I've attached a neodymium magnet, and that allows that little tag to stay there. So the whole unit can be disassembled or reassembled as needed. The other effect that this has is in gameplay you have different injury statuses that can be for units. In this case, the Grenzer unit can take 5 hits. Well, if it's taken 1 hit, I simply tip a man off. He remains lying on the field of battle until the battle is over. If the unit takes, say, 2 hits, well, I can tip the cavalry unit off. Though I usually don't for MX units, but let's say it's taken 3 hits. There we go, the unit's been knocked off. Now the unit's taken 4 hits, and it can't recover any more of those casualties and can't advance on the enemy. These are elements within the rules of Fast Play Grande Armée. However, just visually, instantly, you can tell that the Kleinau brigade is in a lot of trouble, because there's only 1 miniature left standing on the base. So, let's take a look at transferring from the scale of Fast Play Grande Armée, where this is a division, down to the scale of Schackow, where we're just going to focus in on the Kleinau brigade, because that's what the smallest scale of Schackow focuses on. So we'll set aside Hake's. Krennevel's division comes aside, and we're just going to do Kleinau's brigade. So, first off, I'm going to get the division, or the brigade commander. Alright, so I no longer need Krennevel's tag. We're not going to use the little stars on it, but I need this base. So off comes the former commander. I've selected a command figure for the brigade of Kleinau's brigade. And in Schackow, you don't often need to name all the units. I can, but just quickly transferring that over, I now have Kleinau in command of this brigade. And for the purposes of Schackow, I just ignore the 5 MX Grenzer Skirmish 2, the information that was on there. But I do need to continue using these miniatures. So we're going to simulate the size of a brigade transferring from Fast Play Grande Armée to Schackow. I need to pull a few miniatures off of the other bases, because one of our battalions utilizes those miniatures. So pull that man off and stick him on a base. Now you see I've pulled out a new base stand size here. It's the same story. Piece of grass paper covering over top of a sheet steel with the neodymium magnets on it. All of my miniatures have got fender washers on them, so they're ferromagnetic, and very quickly we have 1 battalion. Now that's an MX brigade that was there, which meant that it had cavalry mixed in with infantry working together. So we're going to have some Hessen-Homburg Hussars show up, and that'll be the cavalry component. Something I do for my own purposes in Schackow is, for cavalry units, what I like to do is have a disorder horse that's available for indicating a blown status of cavalry units, and I paint the saddle and saddle cloth the same as the rest of the unit, and you can see it. I'll move it to where it's a little more visible there. Move it back a bit so you can see the whole brigade forming up. And then we have some more infantry that needs to be in here to fill out the full strength of the brigade. This is an Austrian formation of brigade. So I did these base stands were all done for Shako purposes to begin with. Now this is a Grenzer brigade, so that means that it's going to have extra skirmishing ability. And again, I gave the Shako units the skirmishing stand. This is the same width as 3 base stands put together, which would be 4.5 inches. And then we put a third piece of grass paper on top. Again, all fender washers, making things ferromagnetic from the lead miniatures. Again, being a Grenzer brigade, what I needed to do was borrow from the Grenzers that were sitting on top of the base stand for Kleinau in Fast Play Grande Armée, and that gives us a couple of skirmishing forces to go in there. Now, Austrian brigades quite often would have their own artillery, and in this particular case we're going to give the Austrian brigade here a horse battery, a half battery, in Shako parlance. For my artillery units, to have them moving the draft animals, this is the one time I stayed with my old wooden bases. I had originally affixed them down. But I made one slight modification to the base. You can just see it right there. It's a neodymium magnet. I pull off one of my crew from the gun, transfer it over to the base, and now it's very clear that that artillery unit is limbered. So we have cavalry, infantry, skirmishing infantry, and artillery. That whole formation there is for Shako, representing what we saw before as the Kleinau. I'm pulling them back into the frame here. This is the old base. It's a 3-inch by 3-inch base that we had originally seen with those miniatures standing on it. This base that you see here, Kleinau Brigade in Fast Play Grande Armée, is represented by all of these other units when the brigade is being used in the Shako rules system. And again, when I'm playing in Shako, quite often, well, the simple rule is for a battalion, this battalion here, it's a line battalion of value, frontal morale value of 4. That means that with 4 casualties, and I'm going to very quickly knock off 4 casualties here. Okay, at that point, that battalion would have to leave the table because they've achieved now 4 casualties. However, at this point, let's say that some artillery shots had come in and a couple of men have been dropped off, you can see instantly and visually that the unit has 2 casualties. And there's debris and casualties actually left on the ground from that artillery fire. Thank you for your attention.